Ladies and gentlemen, in modern warfare, not every victory looks the same. Some victories are measured in territory. Some victories are measured in the number of targets eliminated. But in American military doctrine, SEAL and Delta Force were created for two completely different kinds of victory. For SEAL, what matters most is not absolute sophistication, but speed, flexibility, and the ability to sustain pressure once war has already begun. SEALs appear when conflict has already taken shape.
Field conditions, where standards are unclear and uncertainty itself becomes a source of pressure. In such conditions, those who can maintain mental stability, retain focus, and continue forward without knowing where the finish lies are rated the highest. After completing the movement phase, candidates enter psychological evaluation. They face Delta Force officers and military psychologists. The questions are not standardized, but tailored to each individual's personal background. The goal is not to find the correct answers. The goal is to assess the candidate's ability to remain calm under sustained psychological stress. Evaluators believe that if a soldier cannot sit calmly and answer questions with composure, that individual will not be able to maintain clarity during missions where even a single mistake can lead to irreversible consequences. Passing selection is only the beginning. In Delta Force, being selected does not mean being elite. It means being allowed to enter reconstruction. After selection, candidates move into a 6-month operator training course. This training is not designed to make stronger soldiers. It is designed to produce individuals who can make the correct decision when failure is not an option. During this phase, each candidate must master all core combat skills, weapons handling at all ranges, precision shooting in daylight, darkness, smoke, and high psychological stress, open terrain operations and close quarters combat, hallways, stairwells, confined rooms. There is no early specialization. Each operator must first become a fully capable generalist. In parallel, candidates learn to operate multiple types of vehicles: civilian cars, military vehicles, armored platforms, helicopters, and transport aircraft. They are not trained merely to use them. They are trained to replace operators, replace drivers, replace pilots, replace crew members under emergency conditions. Every Delta Force operator is trained to never become a weak link in any scenario. Alongside technical skill, the most heavily emphasized element is tactical thinking and psychological discipline. Training scenarios are deliberately imperfect. Incomplete information, ambiguous orders, severely compressed timelines. Candidates must assess risk independently, make decisions, and own the consequences. There is no room for prolonged hesitation. There is also no tolerance for impulsive action. Delta Force does not train soldiers who simply follow orders. They train individuals who understand the strategic intent behind an order. Another defining requirement is that every operator must hold at least one deep specialty: demolitions, combat medicine, explosive ordnance disposal, communications, field intelligence. Yet regardless of specialty, everyone must be ready to return to direct combat roles at any moment. In Delta Force, there is no concept of, "That is not my job." Attrition continues throughout training. Those who cannot keep pace, those who lose psychological control, those who cannot learn fast enough, they are removed, because at the level Delta Force operates, mistakes are not corrected by retries. Mistakes are paid for with lives, with political consequences, or with wars a nation never intended to fight. That is why Delta Force does not seek flashy warriors. They seek individuals capable of carrying the weight of a single decision. In Delta Force, weapons are not symbols. They are tools, selected purely for mission effectiveness. Unlike most conventional military units, Delta Force is not bound by a fixed equipment list. There is no rigid concept of a standard weapon. Each mission allows operators to choose whatever weapon best fits the situation. That means a Delta Force team may use U.S. military weapons, allied systems, or even enemy equipment, not for display, but to blend in, deceive, and control the environment. In many operations, using non-U.S. weapons helps erase fingerprints, reduce political escalation, and avoid unnecessary evidence. For sidearms, Delta Force has employed multiple platforms across different periods and missions, from legacy designs to modern pistols chosen for reliability, ease of maintenance, and performance under sustained combat stress. For rifles, the unit prioritizes accuracy efficiency, modularity, and mechanical stability in harsh conditions. This is why Delta Force early adopted systems with better control, reduced recoil, and consistent performance in sand, dust, mud, and extreme heat. In sniper operations, Delta Force does not rely solely on traditional bolt-action rifles. They also favor semi-automatic platforms that allow rapid precision fire, dynamic target tracking, and immediate response to changing conditions. This reflects a clear philosophy. Delta Force does not optimize for the perfect shot. They optimize for the right shot at the right moment. Beyond individual weapons, the support systems are where Delta Force truly separates itself. The unit has access to deep intelligence capabilities, technical intelligence, human intelligence, signals intelligence, real-time battlefield data. Information does not arrive only before the mission. It flows continuously throughout execution. This allows on-site commanders to adapt plans as conditions evolve. No waiting for commands to pass through multiple layers. No delays when minutes can collapse an entire operation. In aviation, while many missions rely on Special Operations aviation units, Delta Force maintains its own aviation capability. These assets are not meant to replace large military systems, but to ensure secrecy, flexibility, and extremely rapid response. All of this leads to a central principle. Delta Force is granted an exceptionally high level of operational autonomy. They do not merely execute orders. They are allowed to adjust execution to protect strategic objectives. At this level, success is not about following procedure. Success is about preventing the worst possible outcome from ever occurring. That is why Delta Force does not operate like a conventional military unit. They operate as a national risk control instrument. The greatest difference between Delta Force and the SEALs is not individual skill, nor is it equipment or the intensity of training. It lies in when they are used and the strategic layer they operate in. The SEALs exist to act when war has already begun, when the enemy is visible, when battle lines are drawn, when the conflict has crossed the point of no return. At that stage, the objective is rapid assault, sustained pressure, and measurable battlefield results. SEAL teams are built for high operational tempo. One mission ends, another follows. Their system accepts rotation, replacement, and success measured by tangible outcomes. Delta Force is different. They are not deployed after war ignites. They appear when a single wrong decision could ignite war. Delta Force operates at the level of consequence prevention. Their mission is not merely to eliminate a target, but to ensure that the elimination itself does not trigger uncontrollable reactions. A Delta Force operation may succeed without leaving any public trace. No images, no statements, no visible victory. In many cases, silence itself is proof of success. Delta Force is not optimized for frequency. They are optimized for one decisive execution, and that execution cannot fail. At this level, a minor deviation does not just mean mission failure. It can spark diplomatic crises, military escalation, or regional instability. That is why Delta Force is granted a level of trust few units in the world possess. They do not merely represent military capability. They represent America's ability to control consequences. The SEALs win when the mission is completed. Delta Force wins when no one knows the mission ever existed. The SEALs change the battlefield. Delta Force changes whether that battlefield ever appears. And in modern warfare, where a single mistake can cost thousands of lives and years of instability, the most dangerous force is not the one that fights best, but the one that is never allowed to fail. When looking at the full picture, one thing must be made clear. Delta Force does not exist to be the strongest in the conventional sense. They were not created to fight more battles, to appear more often, or to be publicly celebrated. Delta Force was created to carry the moments where a nation is not allowed to fail. The SEALs represent action power. The Green Berets represent unconventional warfare and long-term influence building. The Rangers represent large-scale assault forces. Delta Force represents absolute strategic responsibility. They do not enter war to win it. They enter to ensure that war does not spiral out of control. In the modern world, power does not lie in firepower alone. True power lies in the ability to stop consequences before the world realizes it is standing at the edge. That is why the danger of Delta Force is not measured by how well they fight. It is measured by the fact that every time they are deployed, there is no alternative left. They are not allowed to fail. There is no second attempt, no room for correction. A Delta Force mission is not judged by what happened. It is judged by what never happened. Wars that never erupted. Chain reactions that were stopped. Wrong decisions neutralized before becoming catastrophe. That is why Delta Force does not need to be seen, does not need to be celebrated. Only one thing matters. The world continues to function as if nothing ever happened. In modern warfare, the most dangerous force is not the one that wins the most battles. It is the one tasked with ensuring that failure is never allowed to exist. That is Delta Force.
If you find this content helpful and valuable, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. My name is Hai.
See you next time.